Hi everyone, Diane here, welcome to my studio. Today, as you can see, I have just turned the camera on to show you my desk and the state it's in at the moment. And I thought that today we would have a go at doing some leafy things rather than flowery things, because we've been doing a lot of flowers lately. And so I've been practicing some ideas, trying out some ideas using mostly the Art Nouveau set of paints, plus a few from the main Kuretake set, which didn't fit in the other palette. So I've got that set here, but I'm only going to be using, I think, and I know this is a little bit autumnal, but you know, sometimes when it gets hot, you sort of start to wonder why it's not September already, don't you? So I thought this is the color palette that I thought I would use, which is the blue-grey from the 48 set, cobalt green, which I believe comes from the Art Nouveau set, that's number 503, Venetian red, which is this one here, no, this one, Mars yellow, which doesn't look yellow at all, it's kind of orange, looks a bit like quinacridone gold or something like that, and mauve taupe, which is kind of lilac-y pink colour, this one here. So those are the ones that I thought would go quite nicely together as a palette. And what I often do, and I recommend that you could try doing this too, is to do a swatch, choose your colours and then see how they go together. So do some mixes like this, just loose mixes on the paper. I just mix it on the paper, I just put it side by side and then kind of smush it together. And you can see, and if you get any really nasty combinations, and you could say to yourself, oh yes, no, I don't think I'll change that. Anyway, so I did that, and this is what it came out like the first time round. And because I was trying to do it kind of pale and light and then trying out different whites. And a lot of people have been asking actually about white pens, and I've been using this one for a long time, not this particular one because they wear out so soon, but this type, which is a hybrid gel, Pentel, I think it is, isn't it? Yes. They're not brilliant because what happens is they tend to dry out and disappear. This is brand new, I think, so you can see how much ink it has in it at the moment. But quite quickly, you'll get through that. But, you know, they're not that expensive, so it's not too bad. But the point is, what I was going to say was, they're not terribly intended, really. I don't think they were ever intended to be used over watercolor, which is a thing. And so therefore, somebody suggested these. And so I bought a box of these. These are actually on offer at the moment on Amazon. So I got a box of those. Did I get 5? The other one you can try is the Posca pen. I don't know whether I got a dud when I got this one, but I've never been terribly impressed with the way that worked. I didn't manage to make that work, so I don't like that. These ones, these are not bad. Some of them I haven't even started yet. That one's brand new. And yeah, well, you know, it's all a case of trial and error and having a go and seeing what works for you, sort of thing. Yes, so anyway, that is an option. That is an option as opposed to this. This is going to give you a finer line, a much narrower, light line. I've also got this one, and I don't know what that is. Oh, it's black. There you go. You see, white, black, whatever. So anyway, that was that. And so we put that away. And then I thought, oh, I know. Somebody said the other day, when I was doing those circles that we did on the last video, this lady said, have you ever tried doing circles and letting them blend into one another? Making them wet, not letting them be separate, but making them, I'm just looking for paper, oh yeah, I'll use this. Making them touch, letting them touch so they bleed into one another. So I thought I would try that. So I've had a bit of a warm up this morning, as you saw here with these ones. And I always think that's a good idea because the first few paintings you do in any session are probably going to be a little bit tentative, if you know what I mean. So having done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the advice of that lady who said, how about you make those circles touch? So we're kind of taking the idea that we did the other day with the circles, remember, and letting them run inside the circle shape. And this one, I think we're going to have a go at doing it outside the lines, so to speak. And I'm just wondering which brush to use. Maybe I'll use this rounded flat for this, perhaps. The ones I did this morning, I did with a circular brush, but you can see how defined that line is, and I'm not quite sure I want it quite like that. And this one, everything kind of went floof into each other completely. That completely bled. So I would really quite like something kind of halfway between those two positions, but we'll see. So let's see what happens. Let's get started. I don't want it to be too autumnal. So as I said, we would use this green, which is cobalt green. And I don't know how this is going to work, but we'll do a circle. I need more water. And it wants to be light, but it doesn't want to be too light. And I think it probably could do with some of the outside edges being a bit softened. And then I want to make something a little bit darker, so I'll add some of that brown and put that in the middle and see what happens when you add brown to that green. It turns into much more natural green, doesn't it? So we'll do that, and we'll let that blend a little bit, however it wants to blend. And then let's go for the mauve, the taupe, or whatever it calls itself. And let's do that and let it touch. Should make it a bit bigger. Perhaps it should go over the edges, I don't know. And this kind of art, you just, go with the flow, so to speak. I was watching somebody this morning telling me how to paint a flower pot and how it must be like this and it must be like that, and you should make this darker and you shouldn't make that so light and you should make that flat and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, get off my back. I'll do it how I want, and if it wants to look flat and childlike, then so what? It'll look flat and childlike. Right. That's two. Because I want this to be a background, I don't want it to be too dark. La-di-da. We had a very hot day yesterday. It was about 30 degrees here, which is quite hot for... It doubled, the temperature doubled over the last couple of days from about 15 to about 30, which is from about 60 to about 90. So we were all a bit kind of, woo. Turn on the air conditioning. However, it's got clouded over now. It's done exactly what it always used to do in England. It didn't used to be like that in France. It used to here be sunny. If it was going to be sunny, if it started off, it would be sunny, and then the day would be sunny, and that would be the end of it. It'd get hotter and hotter. And I'm sure it's still the same in the south of France. It's only here in Brittany that things have changed a lot. But we now have the same weather that they have in England, where it starts off sunny in the morning, but by the time the afternoon comes, there's many days when it just clouds over. And that's that. Okay, so we have covered the entire background with circles, and they're blending into one another. And so now we have to think what we're going to do next. I could give it a little bit more texture. I could put a bit more in the centers of these. This is the Mars yellow. I don't know why Mars yellow. I thought Mars was the red planet. Anyhow. I have a feeling this is going to turn into something completely different from what I had expected, but isn't this often the case? But you have to let it happen. If it's decided it's going to be something else, then you have to let it happen. Don't argue with the paint. So I'm just kind of adding a little bit more pigment in the center of these, what look like they're going to turn into flowers. This is still, I'm on the Mars yellow thing. Seeing what happens. And I suppose it's all pushing out, so we're getting lots of back runs in kind of circles as I'm adding more pigment. If I actually stop and watch what I'm doing instead of talking, the pigment is pushing the water and the pigment out and giving us back runs. And these are something that if you're a classical watercolorist, in the traditional sense of the word, the ones who used to do the wonderful illustrations for magazines and books and the war artists and things like that, they used to avoid those like the plague, but they can be very interesting if you're just doing something semi-abstract like this. And this looks like it could turn out to be quite an effective background along the same lines as the one I did the other day from that book. I'm going to get that book out. Hang on a sec. This one here. By Kate Leach. A lot of people have said that they've got this, or if they didn't have it already, they've bought it. And I think it's quite inspirational. And the other day, in the video that we did this one. And I tried to follow her instructions completely, which I sort of did. Didn't quite get there, actually, because I realised afterwards that I hadn't done my leaves dark enough. So somebody who said, I would have done the leaves darker if it had been me, was quite right. I somehow had seen them much lighter than they actually were. So I should go back into it. I should revisit it and darken them up a bit. But they're never the same. It's never the same when you go back. Anyway, so she had done it like that, right? And that's what we did. And then we embellished them like that, and then we put the leaves in. So I'm going to do a similar thing today, I've decided. It's not what I had thought I was going to do, but I've changed my mind. I'm going to do that. I'm going to let this dry, this here, and then we will come into it and do something like this, and then put some leaves in afterwards and see how that one turns out. I think that could be quite fun. After all, why not, as they say. So I think I might put the hairdryer on that so it speeds things up a little bit. Otherwise, we'll be here till Christmas. Okay, so that's dry now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just remind you that we've got this set of Artex acrylic markers, which have got bullet points. So they're kind of, you can draw with those. And I think we might well use those for this. This is the kind of effect you get with these. So I think that could be quite handy. So I'm going to have those on hand. And of course, I've got my gold and black and all the rest of it, all the things that I normally use. But before we get to that, I'm going to put on here some leaves, and we've done this before, something similar to this before. These could be flowers, couldn't they? And then, but we want some kind of, I don't know, some kind of curved, losing my language here, some curved line. And I'll do it in, let's say I'll do it in this, because I did decide I was going to keep to those few colours, and I think it's a good idea to limit oneself a little bit. And we're just going to go like this. You could do it with pencil first if you felt a little bit unsure of your lines. Probably not a bad idea. So anyway, I'm just putting in some stems like that. Sit down now. And then using the dark brown colour that we have mixed with a bit of green, I'm going to put in some fairly shadowy leaves. Like that. Doesn't matter how you do them, really. We can always add more later. Let's put one up here. And maybe put one down here. Okay, maybe I'll make this one a bit bigger. Put another one here. And I'm leaving a little gap on some of them. Oh gosh, now what's the matter with the cat? Just make that a little bit darker, I think. Okay, and then perhaps following some of the ideas from Kate's book, which if you haven't already bought it, you should get a copy, because we will be probably revisiting it again. I don't know Kate, what's her name? What is her last name? I must try and remember. Leach. I don't know her, but I think she's English. And I think she's got a, well, I know she has. She's got a Etsy shop, same as we have, where she sells her paintings. So I'm just putting some berries on here. Can't help it. It has to be kind of plant-based in my world, it seems. Can't help it. Strange, isn't it? And then, okay, so maybe we should put some centers in these flowers. Could do some sort of concentric rings. And then we're going to go over that, aren't we? like some of them quite wide and some of them a bit narrower. Just heard that some friends of ours, the ones we visited last week actually, do you remember I said we'd gone to have afternoon tea and a garden visit with some friends? I don't have any friends anymore because I'm afraid of them. And lo and behold, this week, guess what? They've come down with COVID, both of them. And as I said to her when she phoned me to tell me today, I said, the problem is I can't afford to come down with COVID again because I'm responsible for these videos that I have to, I'm committed to doing these videos, and if I'm not well, I can't. And I don't know how we managed last October when I wasn't well. I think we must have had a few in hand or something. I don't remember. I have to ask Tamsin. What did we do last year, Tamsin, when we had COVID?
We had a few in hand.
We had a few in hand. We haven't got any in hand at the moment. So we'd be right up the kibosh without a paddle, wouldn't we? Well, there we are. Yeah, I've got a sore throat now too. It's all in the mind,
Yeah.
Well, it's not all in the mind, but the mind does have something to do with it. Okay. So anyway, I hope she feels better soon. I know last year I thought I was over it after 2 days, but that was just the beginning. I said to my husband this morning, as COVID around again, you need to be careful. And he said, oh, yes. Well, that's changed tune because he was very... Oh, it's nothing until last October when he did literally spend 3 weeks in his room. He was absolutely knocked sideways by it. I don't think he's ever been that ill before with any infection. You'll be glad to hear that, Tamsin, when I told him.
Yeah, that is a good thing.
Yeah. Because we all need to be careful, don't we? And we're not getting any younger. Well, I'm not anyway. I don't know if you are. And if we want some dark lines for the center veins, we can just mix the cobalt green with the Venetian red, and that gives us a darker grey-green like that. Some people don't like these Kuretake paints because they say they are too opaque, but I quite like that. I like the fact that they are somewhat, they're not really opaque, they're just a bit more opaque than ordinary watercolors, which is quite nice because you can sort of build up some layers, different kind of layers, not transparent layers, but you can go over the top, which is, it's different. It's a change. After 60 years of painting with transparent watercolors, I think I deserve a change, don't you? Okay, when we've got up to a point here, whatever that point might be, I'm just putting some nice narrow fine lines in just to give line contrast, because it's important to consider the contrast of the line as well as the contrast of the colour and the tone. If you want the painting to make your eye happy. You don't necessarily know that that's what makes your eyes happy. My God, I'm suddenly starving.
12 o'clock.
My stomach is rumbling and says, why are you still painting? You're supposed to be doing your lunch. And we'll put some sort of spirals in the center here, so they have a very slight rose tendency, you know. I had intended to use white. I had intended to do something completely different from this. Maybe I will use a little bit of white. Just a sec, let's see. That needs drying. I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure whether to use okay. Let's do a few white dots. No, let's do that. Let's do that. Don't like that. I'm going to stick without white. Okay, I think I might use a little touch of gold instead. I have got here a thing called a Slicky pen, S-L-I-C-C-I by Pentel, and it's such the cutest little thing. Look at that. It's tiny compared to this great big hulking Winsor & Newton, typical English masculine type of thing, or this great big Pentel giant. It's a delicate little creature and really fine and narrow and lovely. Actually, you know, sometimes people say, oh, you don't want it too small because it's hard to hold, but it's so light and it does a nice fine little line. I think it's really rather sweet. I like using it. And I'm just going to put a few touches. That's still wet. I'll probably, I should get the hairdryer out again and dry that so I can just put its vein in. Okay. Just a little bit of gold there. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave it like that. I think that's probably done. That'll do for now. That was fun. That was enjoyable. If I don't go and have my lunch now, I'm going to die of starvation. That's what my dog always says to me. She says, oh, Mummy, I'm starving. I need to eat. You could put a little bit more. You could put, I tell you what you could do. You could put a few gold spirals scattered around like that. And I'm going to call it done. That was a question we had on Patreon the other day when we did our live. How do you know when a painting's done? And I think my answer to that now would be when your tummy's rumbling so loud you can't hear yourself think. So we'll let that go, and I will see you again soon. Hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to do all the things that I normally say, which I can't think of at the moment, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.